Now, we are recording Dr. Ray, and welcome everyone.
Greetings, everyone. This is Dr. Ray Lindley. I'm the Executive Director of Array Global Educational Services. It's really a privilege for us to come to you again this month. As you know, we've been trying to do these workshops every month because we know that one of the biggest issues we have now is we're doing everything differently, and we're trying to give all the help that we can. I'll be introducing our presenter today in just a few minutes, but I want to welcome everyone who is here. Please remember that these are recorded, and if you would like to share this workshop and the handouts that will be presented today with your staff or other people, you're welcome to do that. You'll have all of the information you need, and hopefully there will be something that will be very helpful to you today. So I'd like to first of all introduce Dr. Jacob Franken. Dr. Jake and I work very closely together in Array Global, and Dr. Jake is the Associate Executive Director, and the two of us are very industrious in doing everything we can to help schools be better. And we know that schools will improve when students improve, because if we help students improve, it makes it a good school. So Dr. Jake, welcome to you. Give us a few words. And while you're at it, would you also kind of give the announcement, the earliest announcement about our January workshop, so that these people can begin planning on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you and welcome everyone. Just glad to be here. Glad to see a lot of familiar faces and different countries that are being represented in great schools. I know December can sometimes be kind of a relaxing time, but just congratulate everyone for coming on. At the end of this workshop, like we've done in the past, we're going to provide a link for a survey to take attendance and know who to send the certificates to. So certificates will be provided. Usually, again, those take a few days for us to process. You should see those by Wednesday in your email. And I would encourage you to also check your spam email as you're getting into things. Also, like Dr. Ray said, we are providing a workshop on January 16th. And many of you have met Dr. Eric Kellerer, and he and his wife are going to be presenting on January 16th at 9 p.m. Saudi time. And they're going to be talking about how to work and interact with students during this COVID crisis and after the COVID crisis, building relationships distance-based in your classroom, and just overall supporting each one of the families and students that you interact with. And thank you, Dr. Ray. I also want to talk about some of the services that we do provide, and we have many, many schools and educators reaching out to us, talking to us about our different services that we provide. Obviously, we provide accreditation. We provide accreditation for K through 12 schools, international schools, national schools, and also post-secondary vocational and career schools. Also, with this whole COVID situation going on, many countries are now accepting distance-based institutions. So we are accrediting several different distance-based institutions. And we're one of the few accrediting bodies that have a lot of experience doing that. And we'd be happy to talk to you about any of your accreditation needs. Another thing that we're really excited about is certification. If you have some kind of specialized educational program in your school, whether it's a STEM program, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or a leadership program, a PE program, we can come in and we can certify that. And that just gives some more legitimacy to that program. And it also we can come in and help you improve that area. If you are interested in becoming a STEM or a STEAM school, we can actually help you through that process to establish it through our consulting services. And we have several different consultants from all over the world that have a variety of experiences that they're able to help you in any phase of the school process that you're in, whether you're not even open yet, whether you just opened yet, whether you just want to go through a robust school improvement process or review your curriculum or help you in establishing quality facilities. We can help you with all of that. We're doing today, one of the services, professional development. But this is just one part of the professional development that we provide. We also provide a teacher certification program. We also can help teachers get certified in specific areas if they want to, again, in STEAM or STEM Or if your teachers just need some extra support as a school, that you find a need for all of your teachers need to work on classroom management or curriculum development or anything else like that, we can provide those additional professional development workshops targeted for your school. We also offer a professional educators association, and this allows you to communicate and network with educators throughout the world, talk about issues that you have, talk about successes, and talk about ways that you can improve your school. And with the Professional Educators Association, if you're a part of or if you're accredited by us, you can be awarded as a institution of the month. You can be accredited with merit. You can apply to be a teacher of the year or principal of the year. So a great opportunity to be recognized for the great work that you do. We also have a great distance-based education program. We've partnered with a wonderful company that provides a great learning management system that can be used in the classroom with the teacher or outside of the classroom, specifically in the student's home, and we can help you set that up. We also have a great external assessment that teachers can use and administration can use to target students' areas of need that they're struggling in, or also just to track your progress as a school. And so it's a great opportunity to get that data, because we're very, very data driven as educators. And then the last service that we provide is academic Olympiads. And we actually just had an Olympiad not too long ago. We had several students involved. We do contests with mathematics, with language arts, social studies, science. And so if you want to learn more about that, please go to our website or contact us. You're welcome to contact us at any time, so we can help you learn about the services that we provide, and we can best support your school in, again, any area that you may be struggling in or you want to just improve in. So I think that's it, Dr. Ray, back to you.
Great. Well, thank you. And we do enjoy working with you, and we will enjoy working with you more. Perhaps one of the topics which has been most suggested to us that we consider for the purpose of a workshop is that of Google. We know that many of you are using Google in some form or another, and so we are responding to the requests that we've had from several of you about some better instruction and help in Google. Various forms. So we got busy and we wanted to find someone who is well trained in Google, who knows the answer to many of the questions that you have. And so it's a real privilege for me to introduce to you Miss Jayna Johnson. Jayna is a certified Google trainer. So she's been through much of the issues, which are many or most of the issues that you're currently facing. And so we'll encourage you, if you have questions, we will try to monitor those in the chat room. And if we can, by the time we're through today, if we can answer some of the questions that are not addressed, we'll do our best. If not, we'll certainly get to you afterwards. So Jayna, thank you so much for being with us today. We're, as I said, we're privileged to have you, and we know that what you have to present today has really been requested from many of our people who have been in our workshops. So the show is yours. The show is on. We can pretend it's a circus, and we'll start acting now. So Jayna, welcome, and thank you so much again for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here today. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Jayna Johnson. I am the daughter of Mike Poe. So if you know Dr. Mike, he's my dad. I have two children, Victory and Valor. They're 6 and 8, and I live with my husband in Idaho. And I'm going to share my screen here, and it's going to work. Yay! Okay, so the title of what I'm going to be presenting to you today is called "Making the Most of Your Online Classroom." My email is on there, and if you send me an email, will you please put in the title array so that I'll know that this is what that's about. So there's what we're gonna be doing. So our goals for today, I would like to talk about the organization of your online classroom. And I'm going to be speaking specifically about Google Classroom because that's what my training has been in. And then I want to look at two programs that are web-based and free that you can use to use videos as instruction for your students and as assignments for your students as well. It would be a very brief overview, but all of these things are very user-friendly. And the reason that we're going to be talking about these things is because your time is valuable. You have a family, you need to spend time with them and with your friends. As a teacher, you have to spend time creating lessons and making sure that they're going to be well received and effective. You need to spend time evaluating student understanding and progress. And you have to answer questions as a teacher. And hopefully, if we can get our online spaces organized well, the questions don't have to be, where's my assignment? Or do I have anything that's due? And it can be more, qualitative questions that kids are asking about the subject matter as opposed to where is the assignment located. So that's part of what we're going to look at, and it can help you with your own self-care, because I know I teach middle school, which is 12 to 14-year-olds, and it can be stressful whether they're in person or not. So you got to take care of yourself, and this hopefully will help you do that. So first we're going to look at Google Classroom. Google Classroom is domain specific, so it has to have the email addresses that are coming into that classroom all have to have the same domain. So my domain that is for my school is @minidokaschools.org. So I know that, only people who should be in my classroom end up in my classroom. It also connects to all of the other Google tools. And I'll show you a little bit about that, but that's not a lot of what we're going to talk about today. It is free to educational institutions, which is good. It's part of the Google Apps for Education, like suite of stuff that's free to educators. If your school does not have that, you need to talk to your administrator, because requests for that has to come from an administrative account as opposed to a teacher account, but it's free. If it's a school domain, Google will give it to you for free, and then you have all of these things at your disposal. And it's also very user friendly, and I'll show you where the help buttons are and things. I love Google because you can't break it, and I for a long time was very nervous of technology, but not anymore. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to get to Google Classroom. So if you are inside your Gmail and you have I don't know what its actual name is, the little 9 dots, it looks like a waffle to me, so I call it the waffle. If you click on the waffle, you will have a whole list of things come up. I use Classroom every day, all day long. So it's very far up in my list of apps that get used. It might be in a different place in yours, and that's okay. But you're looking for the Blackboard with a little person on it, and it's chalkboard, I guess. It's not a blackboard, it's green. But that's the symbol that you're looking for. And any place that you see that symbol in any tools that are web-based, if you see that symbol, that means it connects directly to Google Classroom. So that can be an easy way to figure out, oh, how do I get this onto my Google Classroom? Push the green button and it will do it for you. So that can be good. So once you click on that, yours is going to look different than mine. This was mine from a couple of weeks ago while my school was still in session. We just ended our first semester on Thursday, so all of these are gone now because they've been archived. But when you open it up, it's going to take you to your Google Classroom home screen, which will look something like this once you have classes in it. And the way that you create a class or join a class is you're going to click on that plus sign up at the top, and then you're going to choose create a class. It may ask you at some point, are you a teacher or a student? Even if you're joining a class as a student, click that you're a teacher, because it can create problems for you later on if you're trying to create a class, but Google thinks that you have a student account. So choose teacher and it will do that. So when you choose create classroom, it's going to bring up this dialog box, and you do have to give it a name. You can fill in the other things if you want to, but they're completely optional. So once you hit that, or once you title your class, you're going to hit create, and then it's going to open up like this, and it will give you, there's things that you can do. You can make it be different colors, you can make it have different pictures, but that's not what we're going to talk about today, because that doesn't have anything to do with the actual function of Google Classroom. So once you've created your classroom, the first place I go is the settings button. So you're going to click on that little gear looking icon. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to have some control over the things. Your students will not see these things. These are the things that are available to you as the teacher that will help control and manage the way that this online classroom is run. So the first thing I want to point out is the class code. There's a couple of ways to get your students into your Google Classroom, and the class code is one of them. Sometimes that's easier. That can be easier if they're in person. You can put right underneath that, it says display class code. You can put that up on a screen and they can all type it in and hit enter, and they'll go into the thing. If you're distance learning, that's not quite as effective. And I'll show you an easier way to get them in, especially if they're not with you in the room. But that's one of the ways to get people in. You also have some stream options. So the stream screen is going to be the first thing that pops up when students come into your classroom. And it works very much like social media, where the most recent posts are at the top. And so if you have a whole bunch of them, you might have to scroll down for a ways to get to what you're actually looking for. So some of the options that are in the stream are, you can have students can post and comment, which means that they can put, whatever they want on that stream page. And then they can respond to each one of them. Again, very much like social media. You can also choose students can only comment. So you can post major things and then they can comment on that. Or you have only teachers can post and comment. That's usually the one that I choose. Again, I teach 12 to 14-year-olds. And so it's just a safer situation in my classroom to make sure that I'm the only one who can post on that front page, because then it doesn't get, a whole bunch of extra things that don't need to be there, or potentially inappropriate things, or any of that kind of stuff. So you can set that however you would prefer for your class and for your purposes. But again, I really like the only teachers can post or comment, because it provides me an extra level of what is here and what isn't here.
Jayna, can I ask you a quick question? We often get comments from schools about parents wanting to be knowledgeable about what's going on. Would parents be allowed to view this, or do you allow parents of your students to be, of course, they're not going to participate in the teaching, but how do you deal with parents?
I'll say on the slide that should be currently on your screen, if you see Guardian Summaries.
Okay, yes, there it is.
Yeah, the default setting for that is that it's on, because I assume that Google, anticipated those things. And so what that does, you can't send summaries from here. And I would click on see example, but these are just screenshots because I didn't want to trust that all of the things would be working. But it will send an email, and parents can set their own settings on that. So it will send them an email daily or weekly or monthly with like what assignments are due and what's been posted and things, but they don't actually have access to get into their students' work. Just like you would with any other Google things, but they can see what that looks like. That's in the people tab, and we'll get there in just a moment. But it'll send them summaries of that. All right, so all I did for this one is I scrolled down a little bit to show you some of the other things that are in that settings menu. And you can, turn them on, you can turn them off. They have where you can create Meet links that are specific to that classroom, so that it's, they don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to join anything. They go into the Google Classroom, they click on the button, they're in your Meet, especially if you're doing distance learning. There's things with the grading things, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. Unlike most other Google tools, your settings for Classroom does not autosave. So you have to make sure that you click that save button, or it will revert back to what it was when you initially went in there. So I just wanted to make sure that, do click save in there, because this is one of the few places where Google doesn't auto save for you. So then so now I've moved over. On the top, you can see stream, classwork, people, and grades. So this is in the classwork tab. And this is where your assignments, this is where you're going to create assignments and things like that. So what you do is if you click on the create button, it's going to give you a bunch of options. And we're going to talk about creating an assignment today, because that's probably the most frequent thing that you're going to be doing with Google Classroom. Once you have assignments and things in there, if you would like to reuse an assignment because you've already created it, there's no reason for you to go back and do it again. If you click on reuse post, it will give you access to all of the assignments that you've ever created in any Google Classroom, and you can reuse those, and it's the same process. So I've clicked on the create assignment, and it has me create a title. You do have to have a title for your assignment. And then if I click on the add, so oftentimes, especially if you're doing distance learning and you need them to complete a worksheet, or you need them to do a writing assignment or things like that. If you have created something in your Google Drive, or if you want them to have access to a link or a file from your computer or a YouTube video, it gives you options for all of those. So whoops, I clicked the wrong button. So I went through, I didn't take pictures of all of the going through. It'll open up, it'll have you choose a thing from whichever one you've opted for. So I chose a worksheet that's for taking notes about jazz musicians in here. And then there's a drop down menu that's attached to each of these things, especially if it can tell that it's something that data can be entered into, or word processing or things like that. So you have 3 options. Students can view file, they can edit the file, or make a copy for each student. If your teaching is similar to mine, where I want them all to do their own assignment, you're going to choose make a copy for each student, and that's the digital equivalent of going to the copy machine in the library or the office and making 35 copies and then handing them out. So that's going to do that. This is the only time that this option is available. Once the assignment is created, if you forgot to hit make a copy for each student, you can't choose it then. You have to do it at this point. So that's one of the things to make sure that you're paying attention to. However, you can go back and reuse the thing and then make a copy for each student if you've made that mistake. And I have on more than one occasion, but it's all right. It's fixable. So you can, do what you would like with that. If you want students to only be able to view the file, maybe it's just a set of instructions or an example, they can all see the file. If you choose students can edit file, that's like handing them one piece of paper and saying, everyone write on this. So that will, if you're doing group projects, I often have students can edit file because they're doing all of their work in the same place. So they don't need to worry about, oh, I have this piece and you have that piece and how do we get it together? But again, those things can be changed. Due date and time, you have options for no due date. You can choose a date, you can choose a specific time. So maybe you need it to be done by 4 p.m. You can set that to be due on this date at 4 p.m. or whatever. The default for time, if you choose a due date, is 11:59 p.m. So it gives them all the way until the calendar date changes.
Jayna, one quick question. Can they just put in Google Doc? Can you just put in Google Docs as an assignment, or can you put any other kind of application in there, like a game for the younger students or anything else? That was one of the questions in the chat.
Let's see, if I go back. So right there where if it's a web-based anything that you can link to anywhere else, you can link into Google Classroom. So if you want them to go to your specific, Kahoot game, or if you want them to go to a specific math game or a specific language game or whatever, you can put that link in there, and then you don't have to say, all right, students, go to www dot, whatever the big long address is. You can link that in there. It'll have a button. They can click it and it goes.
Great. And for the teacher who just asked that question, I think that's a great answer, Jayna. For the teacher who just asked that question, did that answer your question about how to? Okay. Just let us know if I think it did, but want to be sure.
All right. So then here, one of the big things that was added several years ago, but that I was very excited about in Google Classroom, is that you can create topics. So that is a way for you to organize the space inside your classroom. So instead of just, here's my big pile of assignments, it's, okay, these are the topics that I used in my music appreciation class during this last semester. So, so then kids can know, like, oh, I missed some of the jazz days, I need to go to jazz. And all of those assignments are categorized as jazz assignments, or notes, or the opera things, or, stuff like that, so that you can put it in different spots so they don't have to sift through and read every single thing, because they're not going to do that. It's much easier, and it's easier for me as a teacher to keep track of, oh, I was supposed to have 3 assignments in the jazz one and I only see 2. Okay. And I can go in and make sure that I have all of that stuff. If you, when you're doing this for the first time, you will need to create a topic. So you'll click create topic, you'll type in whatever you want it to be, and then that topic will be created, and you can assign other things in there. If you create a topic and it doesn't have any assignments that are viewable to students yet, students will not be able to see that topic either until there's something attached inside of it. So then you can see on the side, I've got the points available. You can change that, the date that it's due, that's part of the final project. And then up here in the side, you have assign, schedule, or save draft. So on this one, I chose save draft so that you can see what the difference is between those things, how they appear in your teacher version of Google Classroom. So I've clicked save draft. And now here is that sample assignment that I created in that active Google Classroom. So the ones that are purple are ones that students can see, and I can tell that they can see it because it's the color that's the home color for this class. The one that's gray is that sample assignment, and it says draft. So what that says to me as a teacher is, I've created this, maybe I need to add something later, or I have it ready to go when it's time for this assignment, but maybe I don't know, is it going to be next week? Is it going to be in 2 weeks? But it's here and ready to go. So you can go in and then you can assign that draft later. You can also do schedule assignment, and that will keep it in this grayed out way until, and it will say scheduled to appear at, whatever date and time you have set that for. So you can have it be ready, maybe you need to have, maybe you have something else going on, but you need this assignment to show up at this time so that it's available for your students. You don't have to be at your computer. Google will do it for you. So I really like that, because then I don't have to remember at any given time, or if it's a student, or if it's an assignment that I want to show up on a Saturday, I'm not usually at work on a Saturday. So I don't want to be sitting at my computer, clicking things for students. So anyway, that's one of the things that you can do. And then over here on this side, you've got your topics column, so that you can see all of the topics that are involved in that class. And then here's another class that has significantly fewer topics. And it has a different color, because I like to color code things so that I don't have to worry about reading all the things. Oh, this one's orange. I know which one that is. So that's a very basic overview of the classwork tab. In the people tab, so the only people who are in this classroom at this point are me as the teacher. And if I would like to add someone as a teacher, I always send an invitation to my administrators, just in case they would like to hop in and see, what's going on in my classroom, or what I have assigned, or maybe I have a concern about the student turned something in that was questionable. Would you please look at it they can hop in and see those things at their availability. And so you type in their name or their email, which I will assume is attached inside of your organizational email setup. But you can, send that to whoever you want, and then you'll invite them, and they'll be grayed out like that assignment was until they hit accept. And then this is the other place where you can add students. This is my personal preference to add students, especially if we're distance learning, but sometimes even when they're just in the classroom, because then I can have them get into classroom and it will be there. Most of my students do not use email, so I tell them to go to classroom.google.com and it will bring them to there. It'll have them sign into their Google accounts, and then they'll have my class available to them in kind of a grayed out thing. And there's a blue button that says join, and they'll click on that and then they get in there. So with the students part of this people tab, if you click on the little person plus thing, you have an invite link, so you can send it to their emails if emails is a good way to get a hold of your students, or you can type their names or their emails into this tab here and hit invite, and it will automatically send those out to them. So that's the way that I personally prefer to do it, but you can do it with the class code that was in that settings tab as well. And then moving on to the grade book, I have not used this. This is a pretty new thing, but this is what it looks like. So if this is of use to you, this is, I've blacked out their names and things, but these are actual scores from actual assignments for this class that I had. And so you can go in, and maybe you don't want to have to click through every single student and all of their involvement with all of the things. Or every single assignment and see, oh, I still have 2 students who haven't turned this in. I can go in and look and see, oh yes, that kid has 6 missing that I can see. These 2 were resubmitted, which means they turned it in initially. I returned it to them so that they could make corrections, and then they turned it back in. You can see that, one of them was done late and all of those things. So that can be an easy thing for you to do. And Google is always updating these things. So it's entirely possible that at some point, even though it doesn't do it right now, it's entirely possible that there will be a button to say, import those grades into whatever your grading system is. So I just wouldn't be surprised if that was a thing. You can also download these as an Excel spreadsheet or into Google Sheets. So if you need to have a physical printout, or if it's easier for you to look at for final grades, you can do those things. And there are other setup things in Google Classroom with the grade book that I haven't talked about today because I want to keep going. But that's a basic overview of Google Classroom. And again, the topics is the easiest way for me to get those things. And you can title it whatever you want. So maybe you have, all of your week 1 assignments, and it's, week 1, these 3 things, week 2, these 3 things. So you can title those sections however will work best for you. And students, when they click in to their assignments, it will tell them if their assignment is still not turned in or if it has been turned in, and it will send them the grade once you've graded it for them.
Jayna, there have been some really good questions, mainly about the emails. Do teachers have to input email addresses every time, or can you make a listserv, or do they autofill when you're filling them out and sending off grades or information?
The way that mine works is mine autofills. Because we have in our school district, every person who is either a teacher or a student or an admin has a school email, even if it's not available to them. So, because our 3rd graders, we don't want 8-year-olds having access to email. They don't need that. But they do need a Gmail email account. So mine autofills. I start typing in their last name, or I start typing in their first name, and then I can go through and choose oh, it's this Jamie, or it's this Susan, or it's, and I can click and do those things. I would assume that if you have a list of your students' emails, you could just do a copy and paste thing. I'm sure that other people have done it. I just have not done it that way. But
or creating a listserv probably is pretty easy to do.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, are we ready to move to Edpuzzle?
I think there are a couple other questions. What makes Google Classroom so unique from other learning management platforms? I thought that was a good question from Mona.
Oh, well, Google Classroom is the one that I am the most familiar with because it's what my district has used for the last several years. And I actually moved all of my assignments, even when, even before COVID was in existence. I've had all of my classrooms do all of their work online because I can't lose it. I'm a music teacher. My desk looks very clean right now because we have, our winter break right now. So I had time to move all of the things. But if I had students handing me papers, the chances of them getting lost or misrecorded is pretty high. So I like Google, and it's free. It's domain specific. My district is currently in the process of moving to Canvas, which is a different online student management system, but it costs the district. I don't know what the price tag is on that. It does the same kinds of things and it does several things more, but it's also a cost situation as opposed to Google that says, oh, you're a school, have the stuff for free. So truthfully, I have not had experience with things that are with any other things, though I would imagine if you have, any kind of online classroom situation, if you can set it up in topics that will still be easier for you to manage and easier for your students to navigate.
Yeah, that's great. In my school district, we use Google products exclusively, not just because of cost, but just to make everything uniform throughout the district. And they're just so easy to work with. Feruz from Uzbekistan asked some good questions about, is Google Classroom just for giving assignments out, or is it about teaching asynchronous classes? And part of my question, because I've had a lot of experiences with it, is Google Classroom is used during COVID, after COVID, whether you have students in the classroom, outside the classroom. It doesn't have to be asynchronous. It could be synchronous. It could be either one. That's the huge flexibility with Google Classroom. And I know one question that was brought to us before this workshop was if you have a hybrid model right now with the COVID situation. And I can speak personally about that. In my school district, where we have multiple schools, we have about 80% of our students we've been fortunate enough to have come to our school. Some of them have the option, they do have the option to do distance-based learning, and about 20% of them choose that distance-based learning. And so we use Google Classroom in the class with the students, and the students that are home actually get the same instruction. Someone is recording them. One of the classroom aides is recording the teacher, and so they can interact and be part of that program, just like if they were in the classroom. The teacher has Google Classroom where they can go in and grade the assignments, do the grade book, everything else like that. Do you have anything else about that, Jayna?
I have had, like I said, I've been using Google Classroom almost exclusively for several years, which can make it a lot easier for when students have to be gone, especially now if they've been in person and they've been exposed to COVID, when we have to send them home for 2 weeks.
Right.
So all of the assignments are still available to them. And there are inside the assignments, there's a private message option, so that if a student has a question about an assignment, they can message me directly that, step number 3 didn't make sense. Can you explain that to me a little bit better? Things like that. And also in the classwork tab, there is an option to add resources. And I don't think it's called resources, but it's something, it looks like a book with a bookmark on it. And you can add that in. So I've put on several videos of, here's the thing that we went over in class today. If you were gone, this is what it is. If you were in class and you don't remember what I said, click on the video. So you can upload those things so that they're available anywhere that somebody has access to the internet. So it has been hugely helpful for me to not have to change everything that I've been doing and the way that I've been teaching, because even though it's less convenient when students are out of class, I don't have to say, oh, learn this whole new thing while you're gone. Like, we've been using Google Classroom since the beginning. Log into Google Classroom, your stuff will be there. Ask questions if you need.
And I think it's so great, all the different tools that can be used in Google Classroom. Google Meet is fully integrated into Google Classroom, so you can do the blended learning. I know Hassan asked that in the chat, and just so many different tools, even ones that are usually just part of Google Classroom. You can add some additional extensions on and use so many different tools. And I know you want to start talking about the next one, the next program. So.
Well, and today it was an incredibly brief overview of Google Classroom. One of the great things about Google is that you can go in and you can play with stuff. If you just want to, you could have, you created a class as a teacher and then have some of your teacher colleagues join as students and play with it. See how it works. You're not going to break Google. And if you click the wrong button, you click undo, no big deal. Which was one of the things that I had to overcome, is like, oh no, I have to know everything about this. No, you don't. And it's okay. And you can ask your students, hey, I need somebody to figure out what this looks like, or send me a screenshot or things like that. And in my experience, my students have been very willing and pretty excited when I say, I don't know how to do this. I need you to figure it out and show me, because then they get excited, like, oh, I get to teach the teacher something. Yay. And they really seem to enjoy that. And in some cases, that's been how I've gotten some kids who have been really resistant to things that I've done. Like, I don't know how to do this and I don't have time to figure it out because I'm taking care of 700 things. Can you figure this out? Can you figure this feature out for me and then teach it to the class? And I've had students get really excited about, oh, I figured out how to add this filter, or I figured out how to, do this thing, and it's going to be so great. So that can, don't be afraid of the tools, and don't feel like you need to know everything about them before you start to use them. Because you're, like I said, you're not going to break it. You're not going to ruin anything. So are we?
Yeah, I think you nailed all the different questions, the main questions that we had. There's a lot of different questions coming in, but I'm excited to hear about the next tool you're going to be talking about. So let's hear about it.
All right. Oh, and one more thing about Google Classroom. It updates pretty frequently. And if you go in and something looks different, or if you can't remember where to find something, that little question mark down at the bottom will open up into the recent changes, or when something happened, or how something changed. So if you or things that are upcoming. So if you're curious about some of those things, all of those little discussion boards have been written by the people who changed them, like the programmers who actually made the changes. So they're pretty concise and very clear about what the things are that have been changed. So that's a good resource to look in. All right, the next thing, and we're going to have to talk very briefly about these. There is a link on this slide. So if you have access to the slides, if you click on the Edpuzzle thing, it will take you to the Edpuzzle website. And Edpuzzle is one of my favorite things. It connects directly into Google Classroom. And there's a whole bunch of benefits on here. It will help you get around default filters. My school district has a lot of YouTube blocked off, and that's actually fine, because there is a lot of YouTube that's inappropriate for my students, especially in an educational setting. But if I find a video that maybe I don't want second graders to have access to, but my 8th graders are going to be fine, and this is what we're talking about, so I need them to be able to access this video. If I put it through Edpuzzle, it's going to give it an Edpuzzle URL instead of a YouTube URL, and it'll give them access to that without having to worry about, oh, what is my administration going to say? And then you can show them, like, this is what it is, and this is why I chose it, and here's, it's not going to give any of the side video recommendations or anything like that. It's going to have only the video you want, so you don't have to tell students, go and search, this, because who knows what's going to come up. Sometimes it'll be the one that you want, and sometimes it will be something completely different. So You can do all kinds of things. You can check to see if students watch the entire video. You can prevent them from skipping it. So, sometimes students will say, here's your YouTube assignment. I need you to watch this whole video. It's 20 minutes long. And 9 minutes later, some kid raises their hand. I'm done. I watched the whole thing. Like, I don't think so. So this can help you to make sure that they watch the entire thing, or at least that it played on their browser. It can be done at their availability. So again, if you're away from students, but sometime during this week, this is the assignment that I want you to do. This is the video that's attached to it. They can have access to it whenever. And it connects to Google Classroom and a lot of the other web-based platforms. So we're gonna dive right in. So the Edpuzzle homepage looks like that. You can sign up as a teacher. And again, you want to choose that you're a teacher. And you'll, go through these. I'm going to skip through several of these because it has the things. When you get into it, it's going to go to My Content. And so I've been using it for a long time. So I have folders and there's several videos down below there. But this is where you're going to see videos that you've created. And you can create new folders like that. This is one of the videos or one of the folders that I've created for other technology PD sessions. And after we're done here, I'm going to add a link to this video so that if you would like to experience it as a student and see what that looks like, and maybe if that's going to be beneficial to you, you'll be able to click in there and have access to that video. It's got some down here, you can see there's little like teardrop looking things that show you where I have some questions, and here's what kind of questions I have on there. Most commonly I search YouTube. Again, being a music teacher, I find a lot of things on YouTube, but there's all kinds of things that you can search specifically. You can search other Edpuzzle videos, you can search National Geographic, Veritasium, TED Talks, all of those things. And the things that I want you to know about this screen specifically, the search tab will work. If you come across a video that has that's grayed out with the 3 little dots in the middle of it, that means that is being blocked by YouTube's software, usually because of copyright issues. So there are some videos that, because of the way that they are copyrighted and the rights that the owners have to those videos, it won't let it play through a third-party app like Edpuzzle. So if you see a video that you're like, oh, this would be so great, but it looks like that, it's not going to work. So that was frustrating for me the first time I encountered it. So I don't want you to be frustrated by that. Move on, find something else that will work for you. Once you choose a video, you're going to choose to edit it. And there's several things that you can do. You can make it shorter. So if you hit the cut video, the thing that you can't do is you can't break it up and say, I'm going to use a chunk from the beginning and a chunk from the end and then put them together. There are copyright issues with that in the United States. And so since YouTube is based in California, those are the rules that they tend to follow. But if you don't need the first 10 minutes or the last 5 minutes, you can cut it down to be just the chunk of the video that you need. So down in the right-hand corner, you can see that there's how long it is. Once I've cut it, then how long it is. And then there are several of these slides that you'll have access to that walk you through, what it looks like and kind of how to go about it. And again, with Edpuzzle, you don't have to worry about doing it wrong because you can fix it. You can't break Edpuzzle. It was designed by teachers for teachers. So we're gonna keep going through those.
Jayna, one question is it pretty easy to share with parents and students? Do you just give them the link and then they can access it, or is there any other method to do that? So once you're done, if you have assigned, so you can see that I've got Google Classrooms in here already linked in, and that's an easy process. There's, things that come up. Prevent skipping is on. So if you want to add it to your class assignments, you can add it in there. You can also copy the link. Maybe you want your Edpuzzle video just to be inside Google Classroom and it's not an actual assignment. You can copy that link and then it will go wherever you want. Or if you want to put it on a website, or if you want to send it out in a reminder in an email, that link will go anywhere that links will go. Does that answer that question? Yeah, absolutely. That was excellent.
And then if you want to have, you can send it out to parents. Maybe you have a parent assignment and you want to, have them go in and fill things out. You can do that too. This one is not necessarily specifically linked to the domain. So you can send that to anywhere. There's ways where you can upload videos that you have made. And there's, that was the help button. So Edpuzzle is about videos. If you have a question about how to do anything, they have a video about how to do it that are usually around a minute long. So if you click on that, you can ask it pretty much any question and it'll do those things. So that's one of the ways that I use videos as assignments or as instruction. And then are we good to move to Flipgrid for just a quick minute?
Yeah, we have about 10 more minutes left, and Flipgrid, we can't forget about that because it's a tool that in my school, my teachers absolutely love it.
And it's so fun. And again, you can't break Flipgrid. It was designed by teachers for teachers. So I tend to like things that are like that because, for lots of reasons. And again, the title here is also a link. So if you would like to get into Flipgrid, you can click on there and then it'll let you in. So for Flipgrid benefits, especially if you are distance learning, you can see them, you can hear them. It's not just some, blank screen with a name on it that may or may not have a person connected. You can have remote conversations and discussions, and you can allow students to be really creative. Excuse me. So when you go there, that's what the screen looks like. You're gonna, you'll sign up. Once you have an account, you'll choose the educator login. When your students go to, and it'll give you a code. When your students go there, you can put it in the code and it'll, they'll put in the code and they don't have to do anything special to get into it. I took some pictures. Oh, coming on Monday. So I wanted to include a picture of this. Coming on Monday, you can import your Google Classroom roster, which is pretty exciting because then you can have them already into it and then they don't have to push any codes. It'll just be a one-click kind of thing. And also a mic only mode that's pretty new. Here's what mine looks like. This is where your classes are going to be basically. The one that's hidden is that class is over, so I don't want anybody other than me to see it, but I do still want access to those videos if I need them. So that's what that is. If it's active, it can still be accessed by people who are not just me. There's also an option that says frozen. So if you want it to still be available but not changeable anymore, you can freeze that. So to create a group, you go in, you have to give it a title. There's the join code for people. If you want it to be domain specific, you can choose to have it be just your school. You can choose to have it be anybody who gets into things. I've never used the guest password, but I know teachers who have, again, for things. Once you have stuff in there, you can duplicate stuff. So if if you've created an assignment for another class, you can it's sort of like the reuse post in Google Classroom. So you don't have to create it. I clicked skip for now. And then you can share this, you can copy the URL into anywhere and link it into anywhere that links will work, or you can share it to any of these places. And if you're familiar with those symbols, so there's that Google Classroom symbol again, you can embed it somewhere. You've got Microsoft Teams. You can send it out in all kinds of places.
Jayna, there was just a comment from somebody, which I think is really exciting. A teacher said that using this with a teacher from Mexico to do kind of a cultural interchange classroom. What a great idea.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be domain specific. And so if you want to add classrooms from, down the hall or around the world, click the button, done. So that's, I think it's pretty great. And this is what your classroom's gonna, or your grid or your, discussion or whatever. And then there's all kinds of things when you go to create an assignment. So like some of these things, there is a little bit more work on the front end, but long-term, it's way easier to manage than some of the, some of the ways that we've been teaching for a long time. So you title things, you can upload any of these options into there. You can set all kinds of permissions if you want it to be like, I have my students submit their playing tests through here, but I don't want them to hear each other because it's a test. So if you turn topic moderation on, that will make any videos that they submit only visible to you as the teacher. So that has been really beneficial for my students because I don't want to play in front of the class because that makes me nervous. Yeah, I know. It's okay. Make a video. Only I will see it. It will be okay. So that's an option. You can make it be, give them however long that you want, up to 10 minutes and as little as 15 seconds, which is kind of great. So if you only want a one-word answer, don't give them a minute and a half, give them 15 seconds. So you can set that. You can set closed captioning languages, which is new and kind of cool. I want to play with that later. And then there's all these other options. So you can have it be active, frozen, or hidden. In case you're doing things, you can schedule when it's available for students. And then there's all of these choices that do things. This is how they are set up in the default way. And it allows, I usually turn a lot of this stuff off because I don't want them downloading things or seeing how many views their video has, because then they get all, oh no, mine only has 5 and hers has 27. Why? Why she? And because again, 12 to 14-year-olds, it's what we do. So, I usually turn a lot of these things off, but you can, whatever your purposes are. And then again, you can send that topic out any of these places. And I clicked all set. And then there's, again, that share topic will let you do the things. And then the record response. The next several are just screenshots of me walking through the process of all that stuff. And again, it's really easy to get in and just play with it. The buttons are pretty nice. Pretty simple. They can change their name if they want it to display, maybe you're doing a mystery person, guess who it is, they can say guess who or something. So you can change their name. If they need to go back and edit something, they can go back and edit. They can take a selfie instead of using whatever random frame happens to come up. And then they submit it and it shows up and it looks like that. And then you can go through and see the things that are there. And then I think, yep, this is my last one. And it's just pointing at the help arrow or the help option for here for Flipgrid. And again, it's created by teachers for teachers. There's videos about how to do things. There's frequently asked questions, topics. There's how to, I want to make it a quiz. How do I do that? And there's all kinds of things in there. So there's our whirlwind tour of video things.
Jayna, you have packed up so much information in this hour. I know that I'm going to have to go back and look at this again to follow all of these instructions. And I encourage everyone to do that. And Dr. Jake, would you just kind of two things? Number one, explain to them how they access this session or other sessions. And number two, there have been questions about the delivering of the certificates. So if you would like to answer those, then I'll complete it. I'll finish.
Yeah, absolutely. So as soon as we're completed here, I'm going to put in the chat box and on our Facebook page, for those of you that are watching it on our Facebook page, I will post the link to the survey, the attendance survey. You'll fill that out, and it takes us 3 or 4 days to process the surveys, but just keep a lookout in your email for those certificates. You may want to look into your spam folder. Sometimes they get sent there for whatever reason, but just keep an eye out for them. If for some reason by Friday you have not received your certificate, please let me know. If you have problems with power and the power goes out, or you're not able to attend because you have some other situation that's going on, you can go back and you can watch our workshops anytime on our YouTube page. You can look at them on our Facebook page, but you have to scroll down to find them. YouTube is the easiest. Please like and subscribe us on YouTube, on Facebook, on our Twitter page, and you can get any updates that we do have. You're welcome to contact me and Dr. Ray at any time, and we'll help you out. Often we get questions just about simple things. We're just here to help any school in any country. That's our passion. That's our drive, and that's what we feel like is our purpose right now in life. So, Dr. Ray, I think that's it. Back to you.
Great. Thank you, everybody. And again, I encourage you, if your school has not yet considered joining the Array accreditation process, we certainly invite you to do that. We're making some changes too, because much of the stuff we are doing is virtual, and we're even doing some virtual preliminary visits until we can actually travel and be there in your school. So please look on our website and you'll see the application process, and we would love to have you join our family. I'm reflecting on the fact that 12 days from now, we're going to be entering 2021, if you can believe that. 2020 has been a very, very difficult year for all of us. We've all had to learn things to do in a different way. We've had to maybe give up some of our standard procedures and find out new ways to do things. We've all become frustrated. We've all been busy. We've all saying, why are we doing this? What can we do to make it better? And it's been very, very discouraging in some cases. And I remind us that none of us can go back to the beginning of 2020 and make a brand new start. It's over. Well, 12 days and it's over. But any one of us can start from now to make a new beginning. And that's really what I hope we're doing. We are making a new beginning with what we have in front of us. So I encourage us to learn from yesterday, live for today, and hope for tomorrow. That's in our hearts. That's what we want. So thank you all very much for being with us. Please let us know if there's any way we can help you. And we look forward to January 16th, which will be our next workshop. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. And the survey has been posted in the chat box. Please make sure that you fill that out. We're going to leave this going for, if it's okay with you, Dr. Ray, for the next 5 minutes or so people can get onto that form and fill that out.